All right, we're live. Welcome to our HockeyCast,
Yay,
Toddler
live.
Thursdays.
Guys, we made the deadline that we
We did.
set.
Isn't it great? Actually, we're right on time.
I blame naps, though, for our issues.
Let's be real, naps are amazing. All right, so your host today is myself, at Lafon H, Hamza Nofel, and with me is Johnny Mulcahy, at
Woohoo!
J_Mokioki.
Yeah.
Dude, it's really fun to say your Twitter handle.
Yeah. Well, because everyone called me that in high school.
Oh, okay.
It was like, oh, Mokioki, and I was like, all right, what? What do you want? No, because no one can pronounce my name. Anyway, we've got a great show. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. We'll leave that to you. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap, we've got you back.
That's true. I've been away recently because I've been to a lot of the Sens games, and for some reason, a lot of them have happened on Thursdays. So.
Yeah. But when are you gonna go to a hockey game?
I would call
Basically,
that
Carlson.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, but that hurts. That hurts, John. That hurts.
When Carlson leaves that team, the only thing they'll have is Bobby Ryan.
Hey, we have a Turris, we have a Leonard, we have an Anderson, we have a Lazar.
Eh.
Hey.
Anyway,
Besides, Carlson's never gonna leave. I won't let him leave.
he will go.
That's actually a really.
I don't know
thing to
who.
say.
I don't know who he'll go to, but he'll go.
That's just let's get on. Let's get on with the show.
Yes.
Okay. So sort of a quick rundown of what we plan to cover today, John.
Okay, so right now, actually, I want to point out first and foremost, we have enough questions to run the podcast on alone.
Yes.
And this is actually good because we haven't had, I think, in the past 4 weeks. Actually, since we've started doing it this season, the only questions we've gotten have actually been from people that live on my floor. So it's nice to actually have other people send us in questions for a change, instead of having my floor mates bang on my door.
And honestly, just before we actually continue, thank you so much for these questions because they definitely make our job a lot easier. And you know what? It's fun to respond to them because we get to see exactly sort of what you guys want to hear, and it really allows us for a more dynamic podcast.
Yeah, it's great to not have to rely on our own. I don't want to say our own personalities, but it certainly helps a lot when the material can be given to us instead of us having to make it up seconds before the podcast because nobody's asking us anything. So it's working out great, specifically to our good friend Paul, Pace Farm on Twitter, at Peak of Good Living. He's basically providing all the material for this podcast right now. Anyway, so we're going to run through the questions. Occasionally we'll do one or two in between each little bullet point I got here written down. So we're going to start with suspensions and injuries, because that's certainly a big thing so far in the 2 months of the season. What sets this season apart from last season or other past seasons, which is the Twitter question I asked about a half hour ago, I think. We're going to give a shout-out to Carter Ashton, who was suspended 20 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. And I actually, on a personal note, want to check up on Darcy Kemper because last time we had a podcast, Darcy Kemper had 3 shutouts in a row. So I want to take a look at Darcy Kemper, and while we're at it, we'll look at goalies across the league, I guess, because, I mean, Darcy Kemper is not the only good goalie in the league. Me and Carter discussed some goalies across the league a couple weeks ago, so I want to touch upon that.
All right, makes sense.
So do you want to start with a couple questions, or?
Yeah, just before we jump into the questions that we received on Twitter, you can ask us anything by tweeting at us at our HockeyCast, or you could ask us questions directly here from the Hangout in the question and answer app. We read all the questions, and we answer quite a bit of them. So with that aside, a couple of the questions that really stood out to me, a couple of questions that really stood out to me were, one, the suspension thing for Sekach and Jack Johnson, and that obviously falls under the amount of suspensions we've had this year and sort of what we think about that. And I don't know if anybody who's listened to the podcast before knows I'm a little bit I enjoy the so-called hashtag fancy stats. So the one question here we
Yeah.
got here from at Peak of Good Living is Calgary for real, Vancouver or Nashville? Sort of fall under how I think they're going to react going forward. Um, and the last two things are the rise of hockey in worldwide, especially with that video that came out recently about the Japanese kid was who looked really good on the ice. So those couple things I think we'll jump right into, and then we'll move on from there. Sort of your thoughts on the suspensions first, and also how the NHL reacted to Jack Johnson and Yuri Sekach and Carter Ashton, because I think that last one is something I find a little bit more intriguing.
So I actually today was actually the first time I've heard anything about the 20 game suspension for Ashton, so I'm going to start with him because I haven't heard a lot of anything actually. I haven't been paying attention to the NHL very much, with school and everything going on. But I have been getting updates, and Ashton's 20 game suspension, he deserves it. Like you see it in every other sport, and I think 20 games isn't enough. Actually, I mean I feel like suspend him for the whole season. I don't know exactly how old he is, but he certainly looks damn young, and he's got to learn.
The one thing I'm gonna jump in here is so anybody who doesn't know about the story, Carter Ashton was suspended 20 games for the use of performance enhancing drugs. Now, Carter Ashton released a statement saying that his usage of these PEDs was unintentional, as he was taking a friend's or training partner's inhaler for some exercise-induced asthma. That's a statement that Carter Ashton released about the thing, and that he would not be arguing or against the suspension. Um, so I guess the thing I have here is
It
twofold.
seems like if he's not going to argue the suspension, I'm sorry for interrupting, but
No,
it,
no, go
it
ahead.
seems like if he's not going to argue it, then the only reason that he's making the statement that it was accidental is to save face. I mean, personally, my opinion on the whole PED suspension system is that if you use the performance enhancing drug, you shouldn't. You should be suspended for an entire season. Sit your ass down and think about what you did. He should get a timeout. And 20 games, I don't think isn't enough. But I mean, I think you should have a full season suspension, and then have it be able to be appealed.
The only
And
thing I think, the only reason I'm just curious how you think of that compared to the Backstrom thing that happened on in the Olympics, where he was also suspended for an allergy um, misunderstanding.
medication,
And
and he
he
wasn't allowed to
said
get his medal.
he said just a recap of what happened to Backstrom in the Olympics. He said that he was taking allergy medications that his doctor had vetted for him, but were in fact against the rules of the IOC, the Olympic Committee. Um, how much do you think? And Backstrom eventually was awarded his silver medal, even though he was taken out of the gold medal game. Um, my question is, how much is it? And guys in the audience, please feel free to answer this one as well. How much do you think Carter Ashton is saving face, or how much do you think that it was an honest mistake, or how do you think that relates back to what Backstrom did in the Olympics? And is it a viable is do you think it's an excuse, or it's actually what happened?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did Backstrom. I don't believe Backstrom accepted. I think he argued it. I'm pretty sure he argued the suspension from the IOC. I'm pretty sure he argued it, and he said, and he brought up that it was accidental. Ashton's not appealing the suspension. He's not arguing it. So I feel like you can't just take both sides and take the suspension and then claim it was an accident. If you're going to accept the suspension, it's admitting guilt. I feel like if he didn't do anything, he should be appealing it. And if
I
he's
think
not going to appeal it, then he must have done it. He must have done it, and he must have known about it.
um,
Had he come out,
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that he does know that he took it, but he did it unintentionally. So could it not be like a sort of code of honor almost that he knows he did it, so he accepts the suspension, even though he did it accidentally?
Oh no, that could be by all means it could be a possibility. I'm just saying that it seems like by coming out and saying it was an accident, I didn't know, then he must have known about it and he must have done it intentionally. If he's not going to appeal the suspension, had he found out and had he gone to the NHLPA, and said, "Look, I have been taking performance enhancing drugs and I didn't know. I had just found out about it." And he came clean about it before anyone investigated him. I'd say it was different. I'd say the NHL should not be giving him such a long suspension because it was an accident. But when he doesn't argue it and then he claims that he didn't know about it, it just looks like guilt to me. It's too shady for me to believe that it could be legitimate. One of these two things is giving him away.
All right. So I'm gonna put that question up to our audience again. Is Carter Ashton being honest? Um, is it if something is accidental, should people appeal suspensions or should they accept them? Um, and also, are performance enhancing drugs in hockey really a terrible, terrible thing? Now that one's a bit
Um,
of a loaded question because my own opinion on it is that they are. But
yeah, I feel the same way.
let's clear the biases out of the way as quickly as possible. But are they really that bad? Okay, so I guess we'll move on to
Should I ask another question?
yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
go ahead and just check the tweets that we received so we can see sort of um,
there's a lot.
there are a lot and very
Hold
good
on, let me.
ones.
I'm trying to go down. So I'm trying to start it to. I'm trying to see where it all started. Should I ask what I asked earlier? We can move to what sets the season apart.
Sure.
Okay, so we asked earlier what sets this season apart from past seasons, more specifically, um, this most recent season. And a lot of people have been saying, a lot of people, I agree with this, injuries. We've had a couple people say it was injuries, and there are a lot of injuries this season. Zach Parise has I can only remember a couple names. Backhays, Oshie has a concussion. There's a lot of concussions, and like Char is out for a couple weeks. Just a lot of big name players just getting taken out, and um, coincidentally, it could be a correlation, could actually be causation, but there are also a butt ton of suspensions being dished out by the NHL, and personally, I think that's a good thing. The NHL is finally cracking down, and not just on players like Matt Cook. I'm sorry, I didn't say his name correctly. Matt fucking Cook. I really don't like Matt Cook.
You're preaching to the choir here. I
Oh yeah,
myself
hey,
personally
Sens fan.
love Cook. He's in my opinion one of the greatest forwards ever to play for the Pittsburgh Penguins, not named James Neal. So I love Cook. He and I are
I'm
best
gonna cut you off
friends.
because the sarcasm is killing me. So, Sens
I'm
fan
fairly
over
cer- I'm
here.
fairly
I'm a
certain
Bruins fan.
you
There are
can
very good
hear.
reasons to why we don't like Matt Cook. I don't like him because he ended Mark Savard's career. You don't like him because he destroyed Carlson's tendon.
Yes, I will say this about Matt Cook. He has cleaned up his act like tremendously. I still
Yeah, I
don't
saw
like him,
this
but I
video
can
where I
admit that
saw him
he.
try to take out Valeri Nishkuchkin's knee during a game.
Yeah, but I mean, like compared to what he used to be, he's a lot cleaner now. So I'm gonna give him that. I'm gonna give him that. But
All right.
yeah, on your point of suspensions, injuries, obviously we talked about the Carter Ashton one. That's outside of the scope of the actual playing field. But and also non-suspensions because that those can be a little. They can be a source of some arguments. You could say. But yeah, injuries for sure. I mean, you listed off a few. I think every year we keep saying, "My God, injuries are so bad." And
I
oh
actually
my
haven't for
God.
the past couple seasons. There weren't that many injuries for the past couple
But
seasons.
I mean, I remember last year that people were going on and on about how, dear God in heaven, what happened to our players? They're all falling down like flies. I want to know, and if anybody has a statistic out for this or a study on something like this, what are the average man games lost every year on average? And does it differ really that much from year to year? I mean, I'm sure that I feel like, and I'm sure there will be seasons that are outliers, but I feel like on average, all seasons tend to be about the same. It just seems like that. Now, the other question, the question that arises from that is, are star players man games worth more than fourth line scrub man games?
No, you're injuring another person.
I mean,
That,
in terms of
that's
in
the
terms of
point. I
the
mean, if you're if
yes,
you're gonna
I'm
injure
I'm talking like
somebody,
a purely statistical level. Are there different valued man games? Yes, all injuries are terrible, and I don't want to see anybody injured. But again, that's a question I think could be explored. But onto your point, yes, so some of the injuries this year have been odd, and some are rather severe. Um, so that's always a terrible thing to see. I think that suspensions this year have been better so far than last year. I think
I
that
just like how they're cracking down league wide instead of like taking out like these big name goons such as Matt Cook, James Neal, and his weaponized knee. And wow, so far I've only mentioned former Pittsburgh Penguins. Who else? Um, Andrew Ference. A couple of guys who I actually have no idea who they are, who they
well,
play
John
for.
Scott got suspended for the illegal line change.
I don't actually know what you're referring to. I heard that he got suspended, but I didn't hear what
He
about.
was suspended because he left the bench illegally to get into a fight, I believe, and so he was suspended, I believe, 2 games.
So the same thing Paul Bissonnette was suspended for in the last preseason.
Pretty much,
Okay.
except it was in the regular season this time.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I
Should,
think
can,
I think
can I
I think on
continue
the
this?
topic of suspension, I think that they've gotten it pretty much right so far. And I know that someone tweeted at us asking about the hit on Zadorov by Sikach in the Montreal Buffalo game and the non-call on that or the non-suspension on that, and the Jack Johnson hit and the subsequent suspension on those. Um,
Let me pull it up.
yeah. Oh, by the way, if any of you guys want to see gifs of these plays that we're talking about, you can go to our hockey game gifs because
Yeah,
they
don't go
are
to our
just
hockey.
hilarious.
It's Jesus, it's bad.
The Johnson one.
No, I mean our hockey. Like I'm not gonna preach that it's the worst subreddit ever, but there has been a lot of talk of people being assholes and how there's some sense of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, I can't think of it. But essentially, people are just kind of being dicks over there, and especially with the whole advertisements on jerseys. We'll get to that later. Everyone's just sort of freaking out.
Um,
Our hockey game gifts. Go there. That's
they're a wonderful resource. You get to see the games with like in the important plays of the game without having to wade through video after video. It's a really great resource, and they do an excellent job on the subreddit. So shout out to those guys. Um, so yeah, on the Jack Johnson topic, I when I first saw the hit, I actually thought it wasn't that bad. Then again, I only saw the one angle of it, and so for me, what I thought was that he didn't leave his feet. From the angle I saw, I thought it was shoulder on shoulder with a little bit of head contact because of the size difference or the difference in the stance.
right.
I'm still not sure at the end because I haven't really seen any angles aside from that. I haven't. I'm not sure how that suspension turned out. Like if it was appropriate one or not. Um. So basically, that's the only thing I have to say on that. That said, so long as they weren't um So long as there's no suspension for because of injury, I'm
Yeah,
okay. Or suspension directly as a result of injury, I'm okay. Now I understand if there's a dangerous hit and the guy is injured severely,
yeah,
and
because we're
then the
not looking at the
suspension does that.
Shanahan. That's a hockey play. We're not looking at that response anymore, because that
Pretty
response
much.
was kind of BS. I say kind of, but I mean it was really BS.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, if the suspension is extended because the hit is bad and the player was injured, okay, I can understand that. But I don't like seeing plays where the player is injured on a clean hit and there's still a
Yeah.
suspension. It sends the wrong message, in my opinion. The other thing is, I'm gonna, and then the Yuri Sikach hit on Zadorov.
I'm just
What's that?
stopping you real quick. Can you hear that? Could you hear that when? No,
I'm
never
not sure.
mind. No, no, just forget it. Continue.
Okay, and I think the non-suspension on the Montreal player against Zadorov, I think is an excellent call. Um,
Yeah. There was no reason for it.
as a forward who, what's that?
No, I was saying that I agree.
Yeah, and the reason I think it was an excellent non-suspension is this. For one, Sikach was off balance and he was being tied up on his way in to the thing. He didn't really have a way to slow down. He was being basically held up by the other Buffalo player. And secondly, Zadorov saw him coming and turned his back. Now, granted, players need to be responsible for the people they're hitting. You can't go rushing in if you see numbers. You can't cross-check. You can't force into a boards. Don't do stuff like that. No headshots, no elbows, no knees. If you don't do those things, but then if you do those things, you deserve to get suspended because those are dirty plays. However,
Yeah.
what Zadorov did was he saw the Montreal player coming in and he turned his back. You have to be, at some level, responsible for your own safety. And I don't like the idea of punishing based on someone else's stupidity, especially when you really did nothing wrong, with
Yeah,
the exception of the fact that
if
the
the player
optics
you're
look bad.
hitting is putting himself in a dangerous position, it is not your fault. Like I referee youth leagues, and like we're told as referees, like you don't call the stupid stuff. No, I say stupid stuff, but it really isn't stupid stuff. If a kid puts himself in a position, and it's the same in the NHL, if a player puts himself in the position where he's going to get hurt, whether it's intentional or not, if there's not enough time or there's no opportunity for the player delivering the hit to actually, ensure that this hit is a safe hit, then there's absolutely no reason for you to call anything.
Yeah. And
Like,
I think that Buffalo Montreal play is a perfect example of that.
right.
Player comes in, perhaps a little bit fast, perhaps a little bit off balance. Fine, he got a 2-minute minor. That's sufficient. You can call that 2-minute minor if you want. But yeah, anything higher than that would have been a gross overreaction to what is essentially a dangerous play from Zadorov. And
Right.
anybody who plays hockey, if you're on the boards, do not turn your back to the play. Don't do it.
Um.
All right, moving on, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
a
not.
great
I don't
topic.
know. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes like you're digging for the puck, you're
No,
gonna
I
turn your
understand
back to
that,
a
but
play.
if you're in a play where there's ways to do it so that you're not turning to face the boards, where you're putting yourself in a dangerous position.
I feel like there's a safe way to do that.
Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
there is a safe way.
No, I think
Just
so. It's
speaking from
just
personal
that
experience.
I just think that okay. So I'm trying to see what.
Should I hit some more questions, or are you looking at the hit?
No, I was just looking at the hit. Another hit from the Columbus Carolina game. That that is a much better angle. So thank you again to Pacefarm because at Peak of Good Living because he is on the ball today. That is a much better angle, and after seeing that, I can definitely agree with suspension. He doesn't leave his. I don't think he leaves his feet in the beginning of the hit, but definitely head is the principal point of contact. So yeah, that's a good call. All right, I think one thing to move on to would be the advertising on jerseys.
Whoa, dude. Well, hold on. Are you backseat twittering right
Am
now?
I?
Are you running
Not at this
Twitter backseat?
not at this particular second.
But you have been tonight.
I have been. I have been.
God damn it. That's why I'm not getting notifications.
No, mine should not be affecting notifications because I don't like the app I'm using is basically anyway, irrelevant, but you
Yeah,
should still be getting
yeah,
notifications. Is
yeah,
basically the answer
yeah,
I'm going for.
relevant. I wanted to move to contending teams having rough and weird starts. You know, how the start of the
Okay.
season hasn't been going well for certain teams. But no, let's talk about jersey ads.
Hey. It's up to you. It's up to you.
Flip a coin, you win. All right, let's go. Jersey ads.
All right. So jersey advertising.
Popular in the
God, I'm way too
KHL. It's when
What's
companies
that?
put their logo on the jerseys of the teams they sponsor. Ergo, jersey advertisements. If for those that don't necessarily know, um, the NHL is going to start using jersey advertisements, and people are upset about it. And Paul would like us to explain to him why he should be upset about it.
Um. Hmm.
In all honesty, I don't think that teams like the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Buffalo Sabres, teams that are already looking like they're going to tank should not be upset because these advertisements will keep their team afloat.
That's fair.
However, I can see why other people you should be upset because jersey advertisements bad. They can ruin the jersey. Like I have a couple jerseys myself, and I'm getting a few more this Christmas. And advertisements, when not done right, can ruin a jersey. Like you look at the KHL jerseys, and they're all advertisements. It appears. I'm gonna get yelled at by Locria later, actually, because I just said that. But it's popular in the KHL, and a lot of people don't like so many advertisements on the jerseys. And KHL Ice has ads all over the face-off circles and everything, and it's just it's ruining. It's going to ruin the quality of the jerseys because essentially, like you're taking what we have right now being a good thing, and you're going to do what I like to call destroying the quality of it. It's good already. You don't like advertisements are not necessary unless the team is tanking
I
and
think
it's not making any money.
I think on two levels. Um. As a fan of hockey, like just the sport, I can't find any logical reasons for me to dislike advertising on jerseys because it brings in revenue.
To
That,
the NHL, which is already making a butt ton of money.
but again, I
I'm
mean,
sorry, I'm poking holes in your argument. Just finish, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
that's fair. Now I speak as a fan of a team that is sort of on an internal budget. For those of you that don't know, Eugene Melnick, the owner of the Ottawa Senators,
Senators.
has been somewhat reluctant in spending money on the Sens. Um, like the actual team. For forensic investigations, however, are open checkbook. Um, so, as a fan of a team that is less likely to spend money, the idea of having more revenue to supplement the on ice product, I think, is a good idea. However, my argument against having advertisements on jerseys is purely based in tradition. I like my jerseys looking or my jerseys with just the logo on them.
Yeah,
Or
it's
I think
traditional.
I think I think it's a tradition. I personally love the look of hockey jerseys that are just um the logo of the team. it goes back to that sort of thing that you play for the logo on the front, not the number on the back. But again, you play for the logo on the front, not the ads all over it. Um, but that said, I can't find any logical reason for me to dislike ads on jerseys. All the
Yeah.
arguments they come up with are purely emotional in nature. And
Yeah, it is an emotional thing. Like you're not gonna get a big team that's gonna be like, yeah, no, we don't want advertisements because we don't like money. Because that's not what's gonna happen at all.
no.
You're looking at fans that are gonna get upset because they don't want an ad on a jersey that they're already paying like $200 for.
Now
Like,
that's I'd say that's a separate argument. I think that and the I believe Swedish Elite League, although I believe they've had a rebrand this year, um, sells their jerseys without ads on them.
well, I
So
mean, if the NHL is willing to do that, then I wouldn't care, quite
so
frankly.
I think people, yeah, I guess that's one argument that like if you're buying the jersey, you don't want to buy advertising on jerseys because you already paid for it. Um, but and the one thing people always compare it to is soccer, where the kits have advertising pretty much all over it, and the badge of the team is basically on the breast somewhere, where it's fairly small compared to the advertising.
Yeah.
And for the most part, soccer kits look very good, with the exception of Manchester United's new kit, which is hideous. Chevrolet should
And
stay away from that.
and you should tweet that at me later tonight or something. Because I'm too lazy to look it up myself.
uh,
Don't you
um,
love college?
but anyway, so yeah, that's the thing. If we're talking about like the on ice product, I can't see any real reason to not have ads aside
unless
from
it's
tradition.
unless it's going to mess with how the jersey looks. Like if you're gonna have the entire jersey littered with ads, I'm against it because it's just gonna look hideous. But if you're gonna do like small, some like on the shoulder or something, by all means do it. If you want to have like your company name put on the back tail of the jersey, go ahead, be my guest. Just if the jersey's gonna start getting littered with ads that are gonna mess with the integrity of the jersey, which is to really just say, this is the team, this is the player, then I have an issue with it. As if they can do it tastefully and with subtlety, I'm fine.
Fair enough.
So
Um,
I guess the answer to paste farm would be um, make an opinion for yourself. I hate to dump that on you like that. But
I think my response would be
you don't have to.
from a tradition point of view, you can argue it just by historic things. In terms of an actual product thing, the only thing that would be the only reason you should dislike ads that are not obnoxious in appearance is if you have to pay for them when you buy a jersey yourself. I think is basically the argument we went through.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So
So
can I move on to other questions?
I think yeah,
Comments?
we'll go. I think your questions deserve a turn. So teams that were good and are not so good this year. Why?
So two big teams that had some very crappy starts, namely the Boston Bruins, who I'm no longer a fan of due to management decisions and the fact that they're playing like shit. They're on a three, possibly a 4 game win streak right now, but I'm officially a Ducks fan. Anyway, the Bruins had a very bad start. Char is now injured. What was the other team? The Blackhawks didn't have a very good start, I believe. Was
No,
the
they had
Blackhawks?
a
Certain teams are just not doing well where they should be. It's like the NHL has been flipped upside down. I mean, we had Calgary, Buffalo, Florida, God, who else? Edmonton, all win on the same night, and they were playing pretty good teams. I think the Jets won that night too. Calgary's in a playoff spot. Granted, it's just November's just begun, so that'll probably dissipate at some point. Um, But yeah, so far at the beginning of the season, the league is flipped upside down, and I feel that part of this is because of the injuries and the suspensions, and the fact that the Central Division is an arms race.
I think if we look at certain teams on a case by case basis, so like for Calgary, for example, Calgary is riding unholy goaltending, and I'm pretty sure a ridiculous shooting percentage. The last time I checked,
Yeah,
their
Calgary.
possession rates though are hideous.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Um,
take isn't it like going back to the saying, if you keep shooting, eventually you're gonna hit the net or something like that, or keep hitting
Basically,
the net, it eventually it'll go in.
the only thing is Calgary is not taking that many shots compared to the amount of shots they're giving up, and the shots they are taking are magically going in. So
Yeah,
that's the issue. That's the issue there with Calgary. They are riding right now something that Colorado did to great effect last year,
which is lucky bounces
and
and
satanic goaltending.
yeah.
Um,
Varlamov was ridiculous last
he was
year.
he was unreal. He was unreal. Now,
There's no reason.
Colorado, we're seeing it this year too, how they just crashed, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's because they have Aginla, and they think that Aginla is going to do everything.
well, if even if you look at it from like the fancy stats point of view, um,
Fancy stats is what I like to call nap time. I
um,
hate naps.
I hate you. No, I'm just kidding.
Ow.
I love naps, and I think you're better than Matt Cook.
All right, I don't know how to take that. Anyway,
No, honestly, if you look at Colorado's uh, numbers last year, like Calgary so far, they had a really high shooting percentage and really really good goaltending, but they didn't possess the puck often enough for it to be consistent over a year. Um, so I think that what happened to Colorado is going to happen to Calgary. I mean, I want Calgary to succeed, um, but they are not what we would call a good team, with the exception of the fact that Mark Giordano plays for them, and he is quietly a very, very good defenseman.
yeah, I'm just astonished with the fact that Buffalo can win. I didn't think it was possible. I thought they'd be the ones to tank and go all dishonor for Connor, and then Edmonton is also not doing all that well, but they've been proving that they're not terrible, even though they are. They have talent. Me and Carter discussed this last podcast. Edmonton has the talent. They just don't know how to use it. If they replace the coach with somebody that actually knows how to coach, they might actually win. They also need more experience.
I think the biggest issue with Edmonton, I'm gonna take your point just a second. I think their biggest issue is A, they don't have defense,
Whoa,
and
whoa,
B,
whoa,
they
whoa.
haven't had a consistent
Andrew
coaching
Ferris
staff.
is defense, okay?
Yeah, but you can't have a defensive core of one player.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point.
I mean,
I just think one
I
makes
do agree that Andrew Ference is a decent defenseman. I just don't think he can be a number one defenseman for 60 minutes a game. I don't think that's possible.
No, and that's what the Bruins are doing with Chara, but that's unrelated.
Um, so I think that Edmonton, they need consistency from the top down. It's got to be a trickle down effect. Like management has been so inconsistent, right?
Yep.
And then coaching has been shifted year after year after year, and then now the players are like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna sit here and be terrible, and nobody's gonna care, um, except our fans, but whatever. Um, I think that finally we saw a hint of it with that small winning streak they had. I think that Edmonton is slowly figuring out what it means to be a team, but very, very slowly.
Yeah, I'd say there's
And
another 10 seasons left in this rebuild process. They need players like Taylor Hall and Nail Yakupov to realize that, they can't do everything themselves, I want to say. But it's more than that. They need more experience because they were just thrown into the NHL and told, go nuts. and go nuts isn't working anymore, and it didn't really work to begin with. You need a system, you need a game plan, and I believe that it's every time we hear, look, an NHL team is using the same strategy as the Mighty Ducks. It's usually the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. And
Like,
I'll be honest, I get very tired of hearing that all the time. Like, oh my God, look how terrible the Oilers are. I really want to go back to the time when I was like, oh my God, the Oilers won a game, and it's not, oh my God, the Oilers won a game. It's more like, okay, I hope it wasn't my team.
yeah, like there were Reddit posts like Edmonton has finally won a game. Like, wow, that's not big news. Like, NHL teams do win games, and
Yeah,
Edmonton has like, one of the worst starts ever again this season. I don't believe that's very uncommon. They do this every year. But they seem to be dragging themselves out of that pit, and I really hope that they can do it.
it would be nice to not say um, Edmonton Oilers picking top 10 again. It would be nice to say that.
I think it would be nice to say Edmonton Oilers are not picking in the top five. Let's baby steps.
Didn't they pick seventh overall recently?
I have no idea.
Anyway, um, so yeah, I think teams this year. To be fair, we're November the 6th. The standings are going to even out probably by the end of December. We're going to start seeing what the teams really look like. I mean, Boston
Rather
has been.
don't look like AKA Edmonton, Florida, Buffalo. What I'm saying is hockey teams will start to look again like they do every year, like they're not actually hockey teams.
I mean, we can already guarantee Buffalo's out of the playoffs. Like we can guarantee it.
Can we do that for Florida too?
I'm thinking. Well, Florida still has a chance. Florida still has a chance. You can't. I mean, I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think you can guarantee they'll be out of it either.
I mean, at this point,
Not yet.
Winnipeg has a chance, but that's just because the Central Division is an absolute war zone.
Yeah, and I think Carolina is also like guaranteed not a playoff contender or a playoff contender. Not even a
Not even
top
a chance.
8th or ninth place contender.
All right. Well, it's 8:30. We got 15 minutes.
I think we have a couple of questions we'll run through quickly.
A
And
couple.
then,
We have quite a few questions, so we're gonna run through them. We're gonna quick fire them because some of them have long answers. So, who's the best rookie in the league so far? From Dan at Jump to Shark.
ooh, that's tough. Um,
There are rookies this year.
well,
I-
Curtis Lazar is playing very quietly. He's very quietly become a force in Ottawa. Not scoring a lot of points, but he's driving possession on the line with a lot of other younger players, with Mark Stone and Mike Hoffman. That line is amazing. They're probably the second line of the Ottawa Senators currently. So
Yeah.
Curtis Lazar is one.
I
Aaron
have to
Ekblad.
agree, but that's because I haven't really heard much about the rookies, and I'm really looking for God, I can't remember anyone's name. The kid in Florida,
Ekblad.
Ekblad, yeah, Aaron Ekblad. Since
He's also-
I'm hoping that he comes back from his concussion if he hasn't already.
No, he's been playing for a while. He's actually been quietly also very good for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he can get better and you start to build up the Panthers. Though I don't want them to start winning yet. I'd really like for them to maybe in the next couple seasons start to progress towards playoff contention.
Yeah, because I mean, seeing all those things about Florida moving and all that stuff, it gets irritating.
Yeah.
And if it's irritating for me as a Sens fan, I wonder what it's like for Panthers fans.
Okay. All right. Next question. From Pace Farm. Thoughts on Alex Semin being benched?
Good.
Okay.
If your talent isn't playing, they should not be playing.
Yeah, I agree. That's some high school shit that they teach you. At least where I'm from, we had to pay to play for youth leagues, so like everyone got ice time regardless of how good or bad or whether or not they wanted to play. But no, in high school was the first. You're not paying to play, so if you don't produce, your ass is getting benched,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. And so I agree. If he's not producing, bench his ass.
And this is the NHL. You can't have players on the ice that are a liability to
Yeah.
your team. Um, good for the coach of the Hurricanes. He not afraid to go toe to toe with your star players. That's good. I like it.
All right.
I hope Semin can or Sealman can step it up because he's got talent. He's got a lot of talent, but he needs to play.
Yeah, you can't get by on your name. That's
Agreed.
not how that works. All right. Next question.
Sure.
Check. Okay. Again from Pace Farm. This one's a question for you. I'm gonna take a short nap. How much should Corsi/Fenwick goal differential, strength of schedule, and other stats factor into power rankings? Go.
So, for those of you that are not familiar with power rankings,
AKA a lot of people.
yeah, they are basically a sort of representation usually week to week, about which teams are doing the best in the league. Personally, I think that teams that the focus of power rankings should be who's hot, who's not. So that means wins should take precedence over most of everything else. That said, um, strength of teams played against should also be taken into account because if you play against the Buffalo Sabres and you lose, one of two things happened. Either you had a bad game, oh well, shrug it off, you're in the NHL, it happens, move on. Any team can win the NHL, move on. Or there are some problems that need to be addressed. And so that should be taken into consideration. Fancy stats should also be taken into consideration. I don't think to as great a degree as the wins, but two things that are not taken into account often enough in power rankings are current standings and past standings. Those two should be the primary focus of them. So the Kings, if they have a 6-game losing streak to start the season, should not be in last because they are not a terrible team. They just had bad luck, perhaps. Buffalo, on the other hand, if they have a 10-game winning streak, that should be able to jump them up significantly on the chart simply because of the fact that it's the Buffalo Sabres winning 10 games in a row. So
Yeah.
clearly they're doing something. So anyway, I do think
For those that don't follow power rankings, I just want to say the Blackhawks have been at the top for quite a while now, and they really don't deserve to be.
Agreed.
So, like, if they're going to go out and they're going to lose and they're going to play like shit, and then they're still going to sit at the top of the power rankings, who cares?
I agree. That's why I think current standing should be huge. That's why I think current standing should be the main focus of the power rankings, and then you take into consideration all the other stuff as well.
All right, next question. Again, Pace Foam. Great at asking questions today. Is Calgary for real? What about Vancouver and Nashville?
So I think we covered Calgary a little bit.
I'll answer this one first, I guess.
Yeah.
Calgary is a myth, like the Loch Ness Monster.
Hey.
Yeah?
It's Canada, bud.
Okay. Calgary is looking good now, but they will do exactly what Colorado did last season. If, by whatever reason, they don't absolutely crash in like a train wreck-like disaster halfway through the season, they won't make if they do make the playoffs. This is a big if because they have a history of not making the playoffs right now. They're not going to get past the first or second round. I don't see it. It's not going to happen. Hiller has proven to be a decent goaltender, fairly decent, and he's playing out of his mind right now. He will not keep this up for 82 games. He will not. And he also is not going to turn around and do it in the playoffs, provided they make it. Playoff hockey is a whole different game.
I don't think to build on your point, I don't think Calgary makes the playoffs. They look good to start the season, but I think they're going to crash about halfway through. Not nearly as bad as Toronto does, but
Toronto.
Hey! I got to get my Sens fan jab into the Toronto Maple Leafs at some point in the podcast. Usually comes a lot earlier than this, though. Anyway, I do think Calgary will crash. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but they're getting better. They're showing that they can rebuild. I guess Vancouver and Nashville. Your thoughts on that?
Nashville's playing better, but then again, they have James Neal. I don't know how I feel about that. So Vancouver, I have has been invisible so far. I haven't heard a lot about them at all.
I think Nashville had an unlucky year last year.
Yeah, Nashville, I think deserves a playoff spot sometime soon.
Yeah. Now this year, I think with Pekka Rinne back, and I mean you've got Shea Weber, and actually Seth Jones has played remarkably well, considering.
Yes.
I think that Nashville looks like the team they should have been last year, but we're missing the pieces for. They finally started scoring a little bit more. Their defense is you've got Shea Weber, who is one of the best defensemen in the league, in the world, really. And you've got Pecorine, who is arguably in the top five of NHL goaltenders, arguably. So I think they're finally putting it together. I think they're gonna make some noise, a lot more than I thought they would to start the season, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Next question.
And just Vancouver. The
Go ahead.
Sedins have had a bit of a renaissance with Rabada, someone who can shoot. Um,
Yeah. They really needed somebody on that line with them that could actually shoot, and I'm a little upset because I wanted Verberata to be on the Bruins, and that didn't happen. Tears. Anyway, yeah, Verberata's really helping out. Verbata.
yeah.
Verbata. Pronunciation is weird.
Eh, it's like Alexander Semin, but his name is actually Alexander Siomin.
Yeah, didn't we establish last season that we can't pronounce names?
Hey, hey, hey,
I
hey!
can't.
Don't let me in with you.
Wow. Wow.
Dip, 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 dip.
I won't. Don't worry, I won't, because I'm a hockey fan and you're a Sens fan, and those are two different
I deserve that.
wrecked. Okay, anyway, next question. Again from Pacefarm. What is the worst team with a good record and the best team with a bad record? Calgary. Calgary is the worst team with a good record. I think. Is that what the question means? The best team with a bad record? Yeah. So basically, what is the worst team that has a good record right now?
best team with a bad record, worst team with a good record.
Yep.
Um,
I want
yeah,
to say.
Calgary's up there.
Yeah.
Calgary's up there. Um, I'm trying. I don't really. I can't really think of anybody else.
Not for the bad team with a good record. No, I can't.
Yeah.
As for best team with a bad record, uh,
Bruins. Normally I would say the Bruins, but they are suffering heavily from injuries, so they're not a good team
suffering
right now.
from injuries, but at the same time, they're on a 3-game win streak and they're trying to make it 4 tonight. They're coming back from this bad time that they've had.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's between the San Jose Sharks and the Chicago Blackhawks.
I think it's. I would say the Rangers. The Rangers have been remarkably bad recently.
Have they?
Well, to start the season, they started winning a little bit, but they've been pretty bad to start. Um, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Rags.
Okay, I'm gonna go with San Jose.
Okay.
All right. From Angelo, and I know that's not his actual name. At Ander1AP. Thoughts on the growth of the game of hockey, especially in Asia with the upcoming Olympics and the Iguchi hype. I actually just heard about this today. I didn't read much about it. I just sort
That,
of.
that was a fairly recent thing
Yeah,
actually.
essentially, there's a kid in Japan whose name is Iguchi,
Yeah.
and
We'll tweet the video out in a little bit actually. Just
you'll tweet the video out. Don't lot me with you. Sorry, the sass got a little real.
it did.
Uh, he's a hockey prodigy in Japan, and I'm wondering how well he'll stack up to Canadian players.
I'll be honest, watching him play, and I'm glad for him because it's great to see the game grown. But his skill is about on par with the average team that there'll be in Canada. Um, I see that kind of stuff all the time, and I think that eventually we'll see this similar stuff all over the world. But for now, what is uncommon or rare in Japan is something that's fairly common in Canada. I hope the game grows because I think it's a really great game. I love the fact that people are um, that are engaging with the game. I love the fact that he's there, but I don't think that the skill that he showed would have been the same par as what we've got currently in North America.
Yeah,
That
I
said,
agree.
that said, a Japanese player coming and playing the NHL would be amazing because it would give an inroad into the sport
Don't we
for
already have an Asian player though?
yeah,
In
but
the
we don't have any Japanese players.
Oh, okay, sorry. Gosh. No. What's who? Josh Hosang. Where's he from?
He's Canadian.
God damn it. Didn't know that. Sorry. Anyway, uh, yeah. I mean, it'd be great to see people from more Asian countries such as Japan or China start to play.
I agree.
Okay then. Good. Next question. Pacefarm again asks, where do the teams you root for fall in your own personal power rankings? Ooh, this will be interesting. I'll let you answer first.
Okay. So Sens have mm, um been lucky, I guess. The Sens have been outshot pretty consistently. In fact, I'd say the only really good game they had was against versus Detroit. I guess on Monday or Tuesday rather. That was a good game for the Sens. They outshot Detroit 16-2, I believe, in the first period. They ended up losing the shot count later on in the game, but that was the best game they'd played on average. So one game out of like 12 or 10 or whatever it is, eh, I'd place Ottawa somewhere in the top 15, but definitely not the top 8. I'm gonna say somewhere around 9 or 10 for the Sens.
Fair enough. Um, God, I'm going to talk about three teams actually, because I kind of put myself in a position where I root for three teams.
Hmm.
I'm going to start with I'm going to do the Bruins last because quite frankly, it's a love-hate relationship. I want to love them, but God, I want to hate them so bad. Not as bad as everyone else though. So the Anaheim Ducks, I believe, would fall somewhere in the top 20. I don't feel that they're doing well enough to be considered in the top 10. I maybe in the top 15. I'd put them around 15 or 16, but I wouldn't say anywhere higher, specifically because they don't have the goaltending this year. They are
So
proving that they have the
just to
offense.
clarify, I forgot to mention. Just to clarify, I didn't do it out of 30. I did it out of 16 or whatever it was. So just my own conference rather than the entire league.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll put the Sens at
in the Pacific Division, Anaheim stacks up in the top. God, I don't know how many teams are in the Pacific Division. They're definitely not stacking up against the Kings. It's not happening.
yeah.
Perhaps they're definitely in the top three. I'd say in the Pacific. In the West, maybe the top eight, and then nationally, I wouldn't put them in the top. I'd put them at 15. They're not. They don't have the goaltending. They don't have very good. They have okay defense. They have too much offense to know what to do with because they want to move people around, but they don't. Boudreau doesn't really know what to do with players like Danny Heatley, who, in my opinion, could go out and score 50 goals this season. And, who am I kidding? Heatley's not scoring shit this year. Um, but Anaheim has to start making decisions on where they're going to put players, and they need to stack up on D and try to pick up a goalie. Not that I think John Gibson is bad. I think that John Gibson needs to get more experience because he hasn't had enough because, well, Jonas Hiller has dominated the net in Anaheim before, and now that they don't have him, um, Gibson's got to step up, and I think that he did it during the playoffs, and he did it quite well. He's been doing okay this season. I don't think he can hold out and carry the team that doesn't really want to have defense. I mean, they have the pieces. They have the pieces to play defense, and I think that the players need to gain more chemistry and start playing better together. Next would be Minnesota. I think Minnesota's got the speed. They got Vanek. Uh, we're not going to discuss Matt Cook. Parise's out with a concussion. They're not doing quite well. They're in the middle of a war zone that is the Central Division. They're maybe in the bottom 10, I might even say. Not 10. They'd be pretty low in the Central Division, but stacking up against other teams in different divisions, I'd say they do pretty well. Again, I'd put them in the top 15. Maybe I'd put them right above Anaheim.
Hmm.
And
All
then
right.
the Bruins, the big bad Bruins. They got rid. I guess I'll summarize the whole season so far. They got rid of Boychuk, and now Chara has an injury. Well, folks, there goes the defense. Milan Lucic is playing like shit. Riley Smith, everyone's looking at to carry the team, and he just can't. Krejci hasn't been playing to his potential, I don't feel. Bergeron's the only one that's still playing to his potential, but at the same time, you can't expect one guy to carry the team. It's not going to happen. You're being forced to look at fourth liners that, honestly, may not be able to carry the team as well. Like, you can't win a season on your fourth line alone, and the fact that they don't have a third guy for that first line of Krejci, Lucic, and God knows who's there right now, it's not going to work out. I don't think that they're going to make it. I think they're in the middle, maybe the upper. I think that they'd be right above Ottawa, maybe one or two spots above where you place Ottawa.
I think you're being a little too harsh on the Bruins, but okay, I can see where you're coming from.
It's just like part of it's like the reason why I'm not like a huge fan of the Bruins anymore. The decisions that uh, the decisions that are being made by Chiarelli are not the smartest decisions. Like, you need to sign two players. You finally fucking sign them, and then you turn around and you get rid of a top four defenseman for a salary dump that really wasn't necessary. And the explanation is, well, he's getting old. Well, yeah, but he had one more season left with us. Let him play the season out, and then tell him, sorry, we don't have the money. There was absolutely no reason to trade him that I can see, unless Chiarelli's trying to get another trade going. But it wouldn't make sense because who are we going to give up next? Whose
Yeah.
contract is worth a star player? Like, who are we trying to get? Crosby? No. Vibrata? I hope, but I don't think so. The decisions being made by management and the fact that some players are just not, they don't have it this season. Lucic does not have it. Marchand has been invisible on the ice as far as I can see, except for last night or the other night when he scored the game winner against the Panthers. And it's the Panthers. Like, Luongo is all the Panthers have. We're looking at a team that's stuck in the past, and they think that they can do what they have in the past, and it's not going to work out for them anymore.
Yeah. All right.
We have one
Any more
last question.
questions before we've got
Do you want to get the last question, or do you want to go?
yeah, let's cover the last one.
Should a player be suspended for a private conversation on a social media site? And then there's a link included. I think I retweeted that already.
Yeah. So just before we get into the whole social media thing, I want to let people know what brought this up. So two players in the OHL, um, were on Tinder, and we're saying some pretty inappropriate things to some women, um, via the service that were made public, and they were pretty bad in my opinion, and they were suspended as a result of that. Now I think both players have gone on to apologize, but that is neither here nor there in the interest of the suspension thing. I think that is a good move because as a human being, forget being a hockey player, forget being a sports star, forget about that. As just as a basic human being, other people deserve
Respect.
some respect. Um, and I don't think so. Even if we remove the hockey component of it, if someone like me was to say that and that went public, I would be in a huge amount of hot water because that is a terrible thing to say. So I do think that suspensions are completely warranted because you just can't say stuff like that. Just on a basic human level, you can't do that. So, good for them for apologizing. I hope they learn from it. I do think it's a good move. Anyway, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree completely. Like honestly, like if you're gonna be a dick, then you're an asshole. You shouldn't play. Sorry, like if you're gonna get caught doing that shit, like granted you shouldn't do it to begin with, but if you're gonna do it and then be dumb enough to get caught, you deserve to kind of, you deserve to be suspended.
I just think that, especially for these players, they're role models for children, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
Um, I think that you have an obligation to put yourself in a position that other people can look up to you and still follow the stuff that you're doing. Like, I understand they're teenagers. I understand that everybody makes mistakes, but you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
I agree. I mean, there's not much you can say about it other than you don't do that. You're a role model. You can't do that. The NFL's a joke with how they handle a lot of that stuff. But the NFL is the only league I can think of that's actually setting an example, and they're not setting the best example, but they're trying with the rules that they're given. And I think that more leagues need to start, demanding that what players do off the ice should affect how it should affect their playtime. Like if you're gonna pull a Ray Rice, you shouldn't be playing. Like we saw Simon Varlamov do and Slava Voinov do. Like you don't do that. And I know that
And I just want to be clear that what we're saying has nothing to do with the legal process, because in the legal process, you are innocent until proven guilty.
yes,
In the legal process.
we're saying that like if granted whether or not you were proven to have done this, if you're accused of it, you shouldn't. As if the legal process is going on, you shouldn't play. That's just how I feel about it. You shouldn't play if there is a reason for you not to be playing.
Yeah.
Whether that be there is a warrant out for your arrest, you have verbally harassed and abused a girl on Tinder. If there is stuff that you have done that is illegal or outright disrespectful, you shouldn't play. Plain and simple. You're, like you said, you're a role model to children, you're a role model to other young people. Like, years ago, when I was young and Milan Lucic started playing, absolute role model, loved the guy to death. These past couple of seasons, he is playing like an asshole. I can admit that. Granted, I don't like going online on Twitter or whatever and seeing thousands of people claim that Lucic is a goon because he's not. He's playing like one recently, but for people that just go and they claim the internet has no consequences for what you do or say, it does. And those two players from the OHL are learning that. And of course, regular people can't take crap for it, but they shouldn't be doing it. And they shouldn't be saying stuff like that because you don't know what certain players are going through. Like Lucic may just be going through a rough time, but the 3 seasons of playing like an asshole, he's an asshole now. I can admit that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna watch a guy for 3 games go out and maybe he's not producing enough and he's playing dirty because of it, like okay, you don't look at it like wow, he's a goon now. There's no class. A lot of people like to say with Lucic. It's not that there's no class. Maybe this guy is just having a rough time, no energy, and he's playing like shit because of it. Accept it. This happens. Teams and players have cold streaks, and they start playing bad. And you get taught this in high school and in youth leagues. If you get stuck chasing in the defensive zone, or you can't skate fast enough than somebody else, and you get stuck out of breath, you're going to make the desperate decision to use your stick to gain leverage or an advantage that clearly isn't provided by the rules. And you're going to hook somebody, you're going to trip them, you're going to slash them, or you're going to spear them somewhere. And we're seeing that a lot more often now, especially in the past. At the end of last season and the beginning of this season, we're seeing a lot more players spearing other players.
Hmm.
And I think that the suspensions should be increased for spearing. And at the same time, I think spearing, well, I mean, it sort of just goes with it. Spearing needs to be cut down. You're going to spear a guy in the nuts. You deserve to sit for 10 games. Maybe that's a little harsh, but maybe harsh is what you need in times like this.
In some cases, absolutely. All right, I think that covers just about all the questions we had today.
Sorry to end on a bad note.
No, this is as a reminder, and I think I'm gonna finish off with a tweet by at Crazy Knucklehead because it's word basically.
Is it on right
Guys,
now? Like,
we
was it recent or no?
Yeah, it was recent. We tweeted out, we'd like to know if players should be punished for inappropriate usage of social media. And Chris replied, yes, you represent the league on and off the ice. Social media is a big aspect of that. It's also not hard. It's also not hard to not be an asshole.
It is. It's easy to be a good person most of the time.
Yeah. So I think that last part. I mean, we covered pretty much the first part of Chris's tweet in our conversation, but the last part, it's also not hard to not be an asshole. Got kids, take that to heart. Don't be an asshole. Essentially.
Specifically, college kids, don't be assholes.
Yeah.
I hope my floor's watching.
All right. With that, I believe we'll wrap up.
Yep.
So, quick rundown of what we covered. Basically everything.
Everything.
Thank you
Yes,
so much to all of
everything.
you guys for the questions, for the tweets. They really make these podcasts go a lot smoother, and we get to talk about the stuff you guys want to hear. So that's always good.
Yeah,
So
we appreciate you guys asking us questions and talking to us on Twitter. It helped out a lot this week.
keep the conversation going after the podcast by tweeting at us at our hockeycast, or at either of us at J_Mokioki or at LaFonH.
Oh, okay. I may be a little busy tonight, but I will certainly, if I don't respond to you tonight, I will tomorrow.
Absolutely.
If anybody feels like talking, nobody ever does. It's okay. I'll just call Hamza at 3 in the morning, like I usually do sometimes.
John does that. Has done that before.
I have once.
I think I was doing homework that night though, so it was all good.
Okay. Anyway, signing off. It's been like an hour and 15 minutes of a podcast. Holy crap, we made it past an hour. You guys are great. Hopefully we can keep a consistent schedule now and be back next week, same time, same place.
I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe we can get 3 people.
Tweet links will follow the account at Our Hockeycast. We've got a website, ourhockeycast.com. In the coming weeks, we're looking to expand some stuff. So if you have any ideas for the podcast, tweet at us. If you have any topics you'd like us to at least look at or cover, again, tweet at us at Our Hockeycast. We've got the Google Plus page, so you can come and interact with us there. And the site is looking for bloggers on specific, sort of like editorial pieces. If you've got a piece you think is good, it will work for our site, send it to us, to our email address, ourhockeycast@gmail.com, and we'll definitely take a look at it. All right, I think with that, we've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So, good night.
Yep. See you next week, guys.